When you hear the sound of the bell, you know you're in the championship rounds with King, of Essex. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to it. We got a few notes, a few news items I want to go over before we get into a relatively action-packed fight week. But first, let's start with last week's action. Significant bout, Commonwealth and European titles on the line in the Super Flyweight division. I'm talking about Emma Dolan being victorious over Shannon Chaos Ryan. Um, Shannon Ryan had a very intricate entrance with the whole martial arts lady and all of that. Closing the distance was her problem, though. Emma Dolan just proved to be too tall, too rangy, too long, and it didn't bode well. Um, Shannon Ryan's just going to have to work on a few things for that type of opponent, especially if and when she gets a rematch against Dolan. Now, what this does for me, there's a name that I recall mentioning several times. Um, Jasmine Artiga out of Tampa, Florida, itching for a shot at 115. So, she's coming off a win over Nancy Franco. Shannon Ryan's coming in off a loss. This could be a kind of, a catch position to where Ryan can, if she can win against another tall fighter, but the power is going to be different on this side of the things. Hopefully, Artiga can travel on that side of the pond for this fight and bring some visibility to somewhere where they appreciate women's boxing. Talk about appreciate women's boxing. I appreciate um, Caroline Dubois keeping us informed as to when her next fight announcement will be made. However, she's keeping us in the dark, man. I don't like that. There's been some mention of what's shorty's name? Myra Moneo, who is a interim WBC titleist in the division. She's got the title that was, still being held by Katie Taylor. And so Moreno is the interim WBC titleist. And Moreno's been Moneo rather. Moneo. She's got a bit of morena complexion, so pardon me. But she's been calling for this shot. Everybody's like, oh yeah, like she's the big bad wolf. But she lost to Lescano, who Dubois soundly beat. And I know it can be a difference in variation, but I'm not expecting much difference. Argentinian as well. So yeah, I mean, whatever. But like you guys acting like Dubois is afraid. Listen, when she took over the keys to become the landlord of division, um, I presume she would leave no stone unturned. So this is a nice unification because the belts are kind of spread out. You get that interim away from Taylor. Now Taylor either defends against Dubois, which is a big, match, or she just says, fine, I'll let it go. I'm on to bigger and better things. And now you only really got one unified champion in the division, therefore holding the chips, so to speak, leveraging her way to fights with Beatrice Ferreira, the IBF champ, and Rhiannon Dixon, the WBO champ. So some intrigue in and around the lightweight division. Talk about intriguing divisions. Twitter was ablaze the other day. Michaela Mayer mentioned that there was some fight news. She mentioned that she made an offer to the venerable, the true undisputed champion of the welterweight division, that is Sandy Ryan. And we had to get some clarity online. And by we, I mean the respectable Twitter boxing community sorted some things out. And what we end up coming to a consensus is that maybe there's some way because Natasha Jonas, the legendary Hall of Fame two division champion, found her way into this conversation. And we all came to consensus that no one should be fighting for lesser monies. Women's boxing deserves better. Totally agree. Um, so we would like to see this fight materialize. Um, can't expect the Saudis. I've been hearing a lot of rumblings online about what the Saudis are going to do for boxing. It's a funny thing. What about the people that were here first? Because respectfully, Eddie Hearn is the only one doing anything for women's boxing. So before you get the blame in the Saudis about what they ain't doing for women's boxing, look at the man in the mirror. Rest in peace, Michael Jackson. Right? You guys are crazy. Like the Saudis are supposed to come save women's boxing. How many how much heavy lifting that Queensberry had to do for Top Rank when Top Rank was no longer promoting Michaela Mayer? Ask yourself that question. All right. Boxer, yeah, Ben Shalom came in the game and signed some fighters, but I don't even say but he's got to get him out there. All right. He has to make sure his champions are not doing a bunch of in-house fighting and holding belts hostages. So you got Lauren Price, you got Natasha Jonas. Make something happen. So let's ask for Ben Shalom and Boxer to do something before we go begging to the Saudis. And by the way, this is the position that leaves people weakened because instead of us, right, the constituents of women's boxing demanding from each other the best, and if people miss it, they miss it again. We don't expect people to take lower wages, but you can't wait for somebody to save you. That, in essence, is a stark contrast in what we want. Women's boxing has moved away from a mentality of damsel in distress. All right. And I can confirm that as a man. All right. There's no damsel in distress. We're not waiting for anybody to come save us. All right. So let's focus on strengthening from the inside. All right. Um, and so hopefully an all UK from the inside fight between Sandy Ryan and Natasha Jonas will happen. Yeah, because Matchroom and Boxer, they're doing business nowadays, right? Yo, Boxer's up 6-0 on Matchroom. Tyler Denny just had a big win over Felix Cash. So, we got to see how these things shape out into the future. So, it's pretty much it with the news cycle into the future of this week with the big matchups. Most significant because there's a title on the line, reputation on the line. I think this young lady, I think her heart is on the line. I'm talking about Ramla Ali. She will be challenging the WBC Super Bantamweight Division champion Yamileth Mercado, long reigning champion at that. And so here's what I think about this matchup. Ali is proportioned stylistically to win this fight, like what we saw Emma Dolan do with Shannon Ryan. Yes, Mercado may be the busier fighter, more volume, but if Ramla Ali had the heart that she needed to get past Guzman and after the loss, if that heart is still there, she can weather the volume and hopefully, kind of lay back and keep Mercado on the end of her punches. But if something about her resiliency or her fortitude is lacking, then the kind of volume and the pressure that you get from Mexican fighters, let alone Mercado. She's of that same ilk. So you know, Ramla Ali can win on style points again, using her height and her length to an advantage. But if she tries to bang and brawl, not a good idea. Not a good idea. So this is a heart check. It's a heart check, and we're gonna see. And this should be an entertaining bout. Yeah, I'm not gonna throw Ramla Ali away. I'm just thinking her temperament won't allow her to feel good about that loss. Although, I mean, what have you got to be ashamed of? By the way, Mercado has a win over Guzman. So, again, common opponents have some relation, but not always. All right. Speaking of relations, it's been a long time since we've seen Tiara Brown. And there was or wasn't or whatever the relationship between her and Amanda Serrano is or isn't. I've been saying it for weeks, months at this point. Pick a different nemesis, pick a different route. All right. Sometimes, idols become rivals and that sort of thing. But you gotta establish your own legacy. Build it and they will come. And so she's building her legacy. I think there's a WB something. I should have fact checked this, but it's an eliminator. It's eliminator. Maybe for the WBC, which would put her in a position to go against Sky Nicholson. Cool. Um, yeah. But I was thinking, you got to go right for the crown. Sky just got her, and I'm not saying take it easy on her, but you can, chase Sky and let Eddie Matador you around. He ain't gonna let nobody get to her. You can go right at Amanda, um, because she's in a position to where she may have to vacate those titles. So, go right at her. But she's gonna go right at her opponent, Gabriela Bouvier. Don't be fooled by the record. 19 and 12 and 1 with 4 knockouts. Women's boxing is different. I'll explain that in a few. But don't be fooled by the record, especially Argentinian fighters, particularly tough. But we know Tiara Brown, she's got like 11 knockouts and 16 fights. So, and maybe something to prove. Doesn't have to prove anything with a knockout, but has to prove to us why we should consider her next up in that featherweight division. Remember, we just started hearing names other than Serrano in the featherweight division. So let's figure out why we are going to be talking about Tiara Brown. All right. I'm also going to be talking about what I just mentioned to you guys about don't be fooled by the record. There's some other action going on this weekend on the Pro Box card out of Washington, D.C. This is on the undercard of Lamont Roach's title defense. Ryan Rios is fighting Mary Romero. Bantamweight division action. Rios is 7-0 with 1 KO. Complete step-up fight. The rest of her, she's fought, you know, young fighters like herself, no sort of veterans. Meanwhile, Mary Romero has been in the ring with 3 former champions in the division, let alone she's talking about Dina Thorslin, Sierra Seton, and Ellie Skoltney. So, between 122 and 118, Romero is a seasoned veteran, and this is going to be a test for Rihanna Rios. All right. Speaking of tests, you also have on out of Liverpool, Mick Conlon. He's got a boxing outfit. They're going to be hosting a card. Don't know who's in the main event, but I found me some women's boxing. Olivia Hussey, she's 2-0 versus Vida Masokite, Lithuanian sister. Listen to this record. All right. Hussey's 2-0, no KOs. All right. This is how you know this is like they may not even care about Hussey that much. Like, so whoever supported her, they just like, yeah, we're gonna see if she's really worth putting in. Listen to her opponent's record. Don't disrespect. 8-24 with 5 draws, right? Check this out. All her losses to Caroline Dubois, Karis Ardingstall, she even lost to Beck Connolly. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. She lost to Chantel Cameron, Natasha Jonas. With that kind of record, losses to the and she's only got 8 wins. But can you imagine 3 of her wins over debuting opponents? All right. So this is like a professional fighter. Don't worry about that record. She could go in there and very well upset Hussey. And then they say, oh, honey, go back to the drawing board. And then, you know, so Hussey better be on her A game because this is no tomato can, all right? Um, Last but not least, as far as the weekend's action, this is a Queensberry promotion card out of Ireland. You would have thought it the other way, right? Mick Conlon would be in Ireland, but no, Frank Warren and Queensberry will be in Ireland rather. Don't know who's on the main card, but I can tell you Nicola Bark versus Carrie Haley. Oh, I'm sorry. Kaylee Haley is 2-1, and guess who she's got a loss to? Shorty I just mentioned, Vida Misokate, right? The Lithuanian chick. So you got to be careful, man. All right. Meanwhile, Nicola Bark is 4-0, and 4-0 fighter versus a 2-1 fighter, 140-pound division. Now, interesting. I don't see any of these ladies being, I don't want to say worth the opportunity, but Chantel Cameron, there's not much work for her over on Queensberry at 140. I don't see how either one of these ladies will be an opponent, but who knows, man? Because they got to get her a fight. They can't just sign her to Queensberry and instantly get her in a title shot. So we'll see how that happens on this card. And that's pretty much it for this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna keep it light and tight. Go on and get yourself right. Women's boxing is boxing, and this is our thing. Thumbs up, share it, like it, love it. Peace.